I've been a therapist for 13 years and the writing is on the wall. We are fastly approaching a time where your therapist will be an algorithm, not a person on a couch. And is that fundamentally good or better? AI is coming for your therapist. Let's go. My name is Casey. I'm the Rumble Right Dad, and I have been a therapist for 13 years. And I am a conservative man, a dissident in my field, looking to try to make my field rewrite itself back into common sense if it ever was there. And today I want to explore should and could AI be coming into the therapy realm and taking it over, removing the necessity of having therapists in person. We're already watching tools like BetterHelp, which is an app where you will have your therapist in your pocket via video chat and telehealth. Is that better, or are we actually just moving further away from the socialization that many people come to therapy seeking a paid friendship at this point? Let's see what the evidence might say. Imagine this: you're in crisis. You open an app on your phone and your therapist knows everything about you, remembers everything that you've been through, knows all the tools potentially to intervene on your behalf or help you intervene on your behalf, and never gets tired, and you have access to them 24 hours a day. That is the allure of having a potential solution-focused therapy in AI in your pocket at all times. And that actually has some advantages if, in fact, the therapy that you're engaging with is solution oriented. If it is just for connection and socialization and processing, probably not as fundamentally useful. Somehow, the US government has said that 150 million people live in designated mental health shortage areas, which probably means that there's not as many therapists available, but you would have to make the case that therapy is fundamentally helping. And I would make the case that it is, in fact, neutral at best, because as access to therapy grows, and things like social emotional learning and other things like that, anxiety and depression rates have continued to climb. So causal, maybe not, but at least correlatorily, therapy doesn't appear to be having that great of an impact. AI promises accessibility 24/7, availability, and zero judgment. For some, that seems like a life raft. For others, it's a symptom of something else, human disconnection being automated and, in fact, probably monetized, because if you are engaging with an AI bot who you need to pay for that has therapeutic interventions, your loneliness could kind of be manipulated and used against you. And that is, in fact, what's happening to a vast many of my clientele throughout the therapeutic industry. They are lonely. They come to therapy, and so the therapy, in-person therapy with a person, is actually also taking advantage of that. AI therapy could have some advantages. It's available 24/7. They know literally all the library of interventions that can be used. It can deliver evidence-based practice. It's scalable. Millions of people can get it. And some people prefer talking to a bot first because, of course, our anxious generations, per the book of Jonathan Haidt and the work that he's done in that area, has prevented people from seeking and sustaining in-person relationships with as much fervor as we used to. And part of that can be seen in the marriage declines, the declines in having children, and just the war between the sexes that has occurred. So the AI bot is available, and some people prefer it. Does that make it better, or is it, in fact, better to pursue therapy in person? Now we need to talk about what would be missing if your AI was your therapist. Firstly, they do not understand human suffering. Now, I would transpose these concerns for lack of suffering onto the things like AI, robotic police, the robotic dogs that are given AI to try to assess situations. When you don't have compassion and there isn't a real fundamental human soul behind who you're talking to, then that suffering is not necessarily able to be understood, and therefore AI is missing the mark on at least some of what makes us human. And if therapy is going to work, it's potentially going to work because you have a compassionate voice behind it. AI doesn't wrestle with its own trauma or understand empathy and sympathy. A chatbot can mirror, but it cannot minister. Therapy is more than logic, it's presence. Empathy isn't just a script, it is a spiritual encounter. So this is a soul to soul connection. If it's done well and if you do it right, therapy is meant to be between two souls. And that's part of the reason why it is sort of giving some reverence to the Christian worldview that everyone has value and that we're all image bearers of a creator God. And therefore, when you connect in these fundamental ways, we recognize internally that each other has value. Ethically, who is accountable when AI gives harmful advice? That is, certainly we've seen AI mistakes in pictures that it makes, in spelling errors, in just errors of judgment or what seems like judgment. Who's going to be held accountable? Of course, anyone who administers an AI app that's charging and making money for AI therapeutic services, they would be at least somewhat culpable. But there are questions when AI gives bad advice. Is that a result of just a long language model and not necessarily controlled by the company involved? Or is that something they can be held legally liable for? Humans were created with the imago Dei, which means the image of God. And in Genesis, it says that it is not good for man to be alone. So if we are up our own behinds, sitting there with AI and our nose in our phone for yet another service that we render unto the machine instead of unto another human being, is that a fundamentally good act? Is it glorifying to God? Really, it isn't. There's just no way around it. Using AI in transposing that connection onto a computer and zeros and ones rather than an in-person human. And also, there's somebody who's going to lose their job because of that. Although I think most therapists are incompetent and probably deserve at least not to be given the sort of deference that they are in society or reverence that they are in society. Although that might be a good incarnation for many therapists, and I do think AI will eliminate the worst of them, I do also think that at its best, therapy is deeply relational and is more than a mirror. It is also a witness. In a perfect world, at least at this point, an adept therapist would use AI as a tool to try to gain knowledge, access to different interventions, and actually help their clientele provide solutions for their problems. If there is trauma therapy that works, if there are ways that somebody can regard their thoughts differently, that sort of intervention can be communicated through AI and used as a tool by a human face that is engaging this person with empathy and sympathy in an office, preferably, and actually have a human soul and engagement behind it. That would be the ideal use. So for now, it is a blend. That would be probably the best use, but AI yet for Gen Z, who would have no problem talking to a computer instead of a person, AI is coming for your therapist. And there is absolutely no doubt about it, because it can be given for hundreds of millions of people without increasing cost, which is ultimately just not possible for a human therapist. So whether we like it or not, AI is coming for your therapist. But at least until hopefully I retire, a good blend of a therapist who uses AI appropriately and an in-person session will be the answer. In a world that's obsessed with speed, efficiency, optimization, the healing of the human heart still requires presence, patience, and something AI will never have, which is a soul and the image of God, which is cast on them in creation. Let the machine assist, but let the human lead. Thank you for watching. I've been a therapist for 13 years, and all of my cohort, all of my peers will eventually probably be worked out of the system by a cheaper mechanical replacement in AI. But until that time, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate your support. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell so that anyone who wants to can walk through hell and storm the gates of it together. Let's go.